Frank Hart, why isn't there leaders at the top? And maybe before ranting on masculinity, remember that those in charge are from a different generation that actually embraced masculinity. If you're going to ask me a question and qualify it and assume that I'm going to talk about things, like I'm not sure why you're even asking. It sounds like you've already got it. Okay? So if you've already had the answer, you already have the answer. If you genuinely want to know my answer, I think the problem is there's a lot of conflict of interest. I think the problem is people are enticed and just power hungry. They get drunk on authority, and they're more worried about their election results than they're worried about doing what's right by people. This is why I think that if you are an American and you aren't fighting for term limits for our politicians, then you probably ought to consider that. We need term limits for our politicians. These assholes who are in power for 20, 30, 40 years. And you hear some of these politicians, we're going to make real change. Well, dude, you've been here for 40 years and you haven't done anything. So why are you telling us you're going to make changes right now? Is it because you're saying what your constituents want you to say? Is it because you're more worried about your re-election potential than you're worried about doing what's right by people? And if you're fooled by this, shame on you. If you're a citizen, a civilian, and you're fooled by these politicians who have been in politics for 30, 40, 50 years, and you think that they're actually serious this time, you're a fool. You're a fool. There's no better way to put that. These people aren't serious about improving your life. They're serious about improving their lives. And I want to get back to the point where we engaged in politics out of some sort of civic duty and civil responsibility, not an opportunity to build insane amount of wealth at the expense of our civilian population. It's bullshit. And every single man who's listening to this podcast right now better get behind the idea that we need term limits so these assholes who've been around for decades can get out of there and go try to add value in the real world, in the private sector, where they actually have to add value, and then people vote with their dollars whether or not they're valuable or not. This is the beginning of the solution to what we've been plagued with from these politicians who are destructive and downright dangerous to our democracy, to our republic, and to our way of life. So Frank, when you ask me why isn't there leaders at the top, it's because they're more worried about themselves than they're worried about other people. Because we've created a system that rewards them for behaving that way. So we need to rearrange and dismantle the system so there isn't reward incentive for them doing nothing, or for them doing things that come at the expense of the average citizen like myself and Frank like you. This is a problem, and we need to get behind it. We need to rally behind. And you know what? I don't even care what side of the political aisle you sit on. I don't care if you're liberal or conservative, Democrat, Republican, libertarian, anywhere in between. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on. You should always be in favor of limiting these people so that we know, at least we have some idea that maybe these people aren't in it for the career, for the notoriety, for the potential income, for the conflict of interest, but they're there because they actually believe that they can do some good. I don't know if that's the case. When somebody runs for politics, I have no idea whether that person believes they actually want to do good or they just want to make a career in politics, because we've created the incentive and the system that brings that into question. That's what needs to be changed. Part of what needs to be changed. All right. Obviously, I get a little fired up on this stuff.